Hey guys, I'm Brandy Lynn.
And I'm Tracy Ebert.
Welcome to our channel.
Unpopular.
So Unpopular, if you've not hung out with us before, is a channel where we want to talk about really popular topics in a very unpopular way that really points right back to Jesus.
Yes, and we were going to start with a mom rap in the vehicle.
We felt like that's what we should do.
But that's not really us, so we're just going to talk straight today. You think? Go for it.
Not right now.
1, 2, 3. All right, so today we're sitting here trying to figure out what we're going to talk about, and we decided to talk about submission.
And being submissive wives. And we wanted to pick this topic because if you know Tracy and I personally, or if you've even just hung out with us here on our channel a couple of times, you'll know that we're both pretty bold,
strong-headed,
dominant personalities. And I actually think those are really great traits.
They're great traits of a leader.
They are.
Seriously.
But we wanted to kind of direct that back to being a submissive wife and what that looks like, especially when you are a woman who has a strong personality and who is a leader.
We should have Paul and Jeremy follow this up. It'd be awesome. So if you don't know, it's too, like, we're very outspoken. She is kind of more introverted than me, believe it or not. She's an extroverted introvert. I'm a total extrovert, 110%. And my husband is 100% introvert. And so is hers. Mm-hmm. So it's very interesting of how we roll with that. But so do you know, I heard a story by Beth Moore not too long ago, and I loved it because it was talking about submission and what it really means. And so what it does is it doesn't mean like you can't be yourself and you can say no, or
it's not being a doormat.
No.
Can you picture us being doormats?
I would feel sorry for the poor soul. But the thing is, the nice thing that the Bible lines up for us is that when we're submissive to our husbands and we make big decisions, we allow them to roll with those decisions. And you know what? When they stand before Jesus, it falls on their shoulders. We are protected under their covering and that whole role of authority, like the way that the family is set up. And we can actually rest in that. But we can also duck, and we don't take the punch if it falls through.
So the way that God designed marriage is that women are supposed to, well, let's go back. Like, God created men, and then he realized he needs a counterpart. He needs a sidekick. And so that's when he designed us women, right? So we are right by their side. We're not behind them or ahead of them. We're right by their side.
And from their side.
And from their side.
Fun fact.
But the way that God designed marriage is that men would love their wives as Christ did the church, and that women would submit to their husbands as leaders of their families. And so I think that that actually works really well. When it works really well, I think that it starts to become an issue when one of those things is off. So if your husband isn't loving you like Christ loved the church, then I think it's harder to submit to his leadership in your family because he's not loving you, right? Absolutely. Or the other way around. So if you're not respecting your husband and his authority as the leader of your family, then I think it's probably harder for him to show you the love that Christ showed the church.
Well, and that's because our love looks so much different than the world's as Christians and as believers. And so we know that we all come with faults, but we love anyway, and we help and we serve each other through that. And so I think that's really important with the spouse, especially for those of you watching that maybe aren't married or dating or whatever. It's something to think about, and that's what the Bible talks about, being equally yoked and being on that same page, that when you get into marriage, it's never easy. Ever. I mean, if somebody said it was all rainbows and butterflies, they're lying. Yeah, and so it's hard, but you know, when you follow submission, when you follow the way that Christ loves the church and how we're to love and serve and edify, then it makes it a little easier. So if you're out there looking for a spouse, you need to take all of this into account, because I'm telling you, I can't imagine not living life with Jesus in a marriage.
Right. And I've actually done that. Paul and I started our marriage like that, and it was so out of whack, and everything was so out of balance and so wrong and it wasn't working. And when we began living our lives for Christ with him at the center, I feel like marriage is easy actually sometimes now. Like because we do love and respect each other. So I do want to say, if you're someone who maybe you've battled that part of scripture, like I am not submissive. And I kind of remember thinking that, again, I just want to tell you again, that doesn't mean that you don't have a voice. And it doesn't mean that you're disrespected or a doormat. I guess we could give an example.
If you are touched, like hit or abused in any fashion, that is not okay.
Yeah, that's not what God designed for
and there's
marriage.
Help.
Yeah, that's not what God designed for marriage. But what it looks like in our household, like if there is something that is like, let's talk about finances maybe. So if there's something that I really want to spend money on that is like more expensive than what we would normally just go out and purchase or whatever, like I'm going to talk to Paul about that first and let him know. Like Paul always knows what my opinion is and what I think. But I also... I
hope Jeremy watches this and hears that.
But I also want him to know, and I think he knows, that like at the end of the day, his voice matters. And even though I'm bold and will just bold, like I still totally respect his opinion and leadership at the end of the day.
And what you just said, respect is the biggest thing that you can give your husband. Men need that respect, and so asking and keeping them in conversations with you about even finances or just big decisions, even though like Jeremy won't necessarily, he trusts me in different things, but I still want his feedback and for him to give me an answer just so he can have that respect. And
right, like most of the time Paul really doesn't care what I do. Like he's so easy, but I'll run things past him just to let him know that I care, that he knows, and that he does have a say.
I will say though, so like there are times like I'll ask Jeremy a question and maybe I get like he doesn't think it's right, or he'll say I probably shouldn't do that. I grit my teeth because the hard-headedness of me is that way, but I really think he has a lot of value in what he says, and I respect, there's that word again, respect that. So anyway,
we hope this was encouraging. We just wanted to show you kind of what it looks like in our marriages. We don't have picture perfect marriages. I think every marriage
My husband is really hot though. I think he's pretty cute.
But all marriages are different, but God designed them. And if you're a bold woman, you can still submit to your husband without
and be who
having
you are.
A voice.
I actually think God paired
Paul
you.
likes my bossiness.
I think he does too. Have a good day. Stay tuned for the next Unpopular.
Bye guys. Have a great day.